Welcome back to Behind the Anchor, everyone, as we are very excited to welcome you into this week's episode. I'm Noah McLane, and of course, your all too favorite head coach, Jim Fleming. Coach, how we doing?
Good, Noah. How you doing, man?
I am, well, fantastic now that I'm sitting here with you. It's a hot day out there, and
flattery will get you everywhere,
football.
Man. No doubt.
But before we talk about football, as always, for some of the fan favorites, we get to talk about some quick hitters and some interesting questions. The first one is earlier this week, you were asked about favorite movie, and you said Shawshank Redemption. Walk us through that.
It was the first thing that came to my mind. It's one of those that when you're flipping around on the TV, you end up running into like forever. The other ones that jumped in my mind, one nobody will ever know, was Sounder. I think I saw it in seventh grade about some dog that died, and I felt awful about that. But Shawshank was cool, man. I mean, how can you get any better than Morgan Freeman and some good interaction between people and struggles and strains and unjust things. There was great stuff in that. It's just one of those that draws me back. That and My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah, fair enough. It's a great movie. You really can't go wrong with it.
Shawshank or My Cousin Vinny?
Well, Shawshank, but also My Cousin Vinny. Oh,
right, because Marissa Tomei. Exactly. My clock is ticking. Pretty good.
Now, if I were to walk into your humble abode, and let's say hypothetically you have a list of your favorite films, we'll call it the Jim Fleming's list. What is some other movies that I might find on that list that you would often put on your TV at home?
On my TV? That's a better one for me because it's usually rarely that I get control of the channel changer. I come home, Leslie, my wife, is firmly entrenched in her spot. And
so to the missus, he has full control over the TV. Let's start with that.
She has full control. Without a doubt. But if I'm able to get my hands, I'm watching like Deadliest Catch or, some kind of show that deals with some animal outside stuff. And then I'll get roped into a couple of the series that my wife has picked out, and they usually involve people with English accents or foreign languages. So those last about 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll check my phone out. But not a bunch of time spent this time of year watching TV, I promise you.
Fair enough. Probably the game film is the more common thing to be on the TV now. Well, now, not if, but when there is a movie made about you, what kind of an actor or who as an actor can you see portraying yourself in that film?
Well, back in the day, I used to get a lot of Matthew McConaughey references.
Okay.
That was back in the day. But if I was asked, I would like Justin Timberlake to do me or Mark Wahlberg. How can you go wrong with those guys? I mean, they're cool guys. You always want to be represented by a cool guy. But those are the two that jump to mind.
You seen Patriots Day with Mark Wahlberg?
I've seen all of Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
He's great.
It's good stuff.
He's awesome. I mean, Ted, of course. Everything. Ted 2.
Ted 2, no question. No question. Absolute fan.
Fantastic. Now let's jump to some of the quick hitter questions more related to football. Let's talk about away games for a second. What's your favorite part of an away game?
Coming home with a victory. Without a doubt. And I think you're able to go into somebody else's home and win a football game, and that feeling coming back is my favorite part. You put that aside, aside of the agony of waiting for the thing to kick off, the meals are awful good.
Well, fantastic. And I feel like I might have an idea of what your answer to this follow-up question might be, but what is your least favorite part of going on the road?
Yeah. Least favorite part, is probably not coming home with a victory. Those are long, sad rides, and sometimes they're buses, sometimes they're planes, and Losses I handle fairly well in the immediate stages, but that grows and festers for what you can allow it to, which is about 24 hours before you got to get back to work.
Now, speaking of planes, trains, and automobiles, what's your favorite mode of transportation? You going with a nice flight, or are you like a bus ride?
A short bus ride is preferable because you don't have to travel very long. The planes are awful cool as long as you know that it's chartered and you're doing it the right way. Those are great experiences, not only for me but for the kids. But there's nothing wrong with a long bus ride here as long as you have good movies to watch.
Now, we talking plug it in the headphones or kind of all up on the big screen for everyone to watch it?
It used to be that you would select movies that you wanted your kids to see.
Yeah.
And so it was usually something related to war, blood and guts, football, some kind of victory motif. So, I mean, certainly that has died with, everybody has their own device and they've got everything loaded up. So,
yeah.
I'm the only one that's usually watching whatever's up there.
Now, you've made a lot of stops on the road along your way. If you kind of had to pick out one or maybe two, because I know this might be a difficult question, what would be your favorite college football stadium that you've ever been to?
It's so hard. I mean, I think the first one that shocked me was Neyland Stadium at the University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
Mostly because Peyton Manning was playing and threw a post route over my corner who ended up making the league. And I told him to watch out for it, but he didn't pay attention. But Tennessee was cool. Auburn was unbelievable when the War Eagle came flying in. Mm-hmm. Ohio State, you go there, and that place is impactful. Penn State, you can't even hear yourself talk. Florida State, that's an incredible environment. Orange Bowl. I mean, I've been to a bunch of them, but they're all very special in their own way. It's cool to visit those places.
So now you've been to a lot of places for sure. The environment, everything is awesome, but is there still one maybe that is kind of nagging at the back of your mind right now that you're saying to yourself, I've got to go there?
There's not one that's nagging in my mind. I think, it would be the Rose Bowl would be a cool one.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in that place, but I haven't been there for a football game, and in the Rose Bowl, that's probably one that kind of tickles my fancy.
Well, that's a great answer. Love it. I would join you if you went.
Yeah, right. We'll do that.
Fantastic. Now let's jump into some talk about football. We're going to start this week talking about last week's matchup against Minnesota. Just first, what are your main takeaways from that game against the Gophers?
That we battled in the first half very admirably. You look at the defense, put in bad situations, we're able to hold things down 17-0 at halftime. You're in a reasonable football game. Didn't operate very well offensively, had a big explosion possibility that was ruled an interception rather than a completion. A big, a momentum type play that could have really gotten us on the board and maybe taken it in a little bit better. But we played 20 minutes on defense, and that's too long in any half. And then, they came out second half and, still did the same things. I think we wore down a little bit offensively. We didn't control the ball enough. So, I mean, the part that was okay is the physicality, how hard we play, how well we prepared. Didn't play well enough. But at the same time, that game could have been a 31-14 type game had we been operating. I didn't think it would be very hard for us to win it, particularly the way we played. But I still had a couple words for P.J. Fleck after that last touchdown, which I thought was low rent.
Fair enough. Now, last week in our episode, you said you wanted to go in there. The main goal for your team was to go in there and play hard, play to the best of their ability, and hold their heads high. When you think back in reflection of that, who were some of the players that you kind of thought demonstrated those examples of leadership, whether those be players that have shown it before or players that might have stepped up in an environment that not a lot of guys on this roster have played in before?
I think there's some to it. You left one huge part out. We did go down there with the intent of winning the game, not just going in there and representing them, play hard and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I thought the defense as a whole played good. I hate to single out anybody because it's, it ends up leaving somebody out.
Right.
But, I thought, Andre DePina Gray was putting his pads on people, and he was a very significant hitter in that football game. You look at Trey Alexander, our center, that played really phenomenal and was a player of the week for us. There was, Dev Walter punted the ball real well. So I thought there was a number of guys that stepped up to the challenge. They've got, nothing bad to say about any of their efforts. I think we played hard. We just didn't play well enough.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. And I will say, watching from home, the defense was the thing to be very admirable about.
Absolutely.
Mason was on the sideline. He wasn't texting in the game because he was doing his own thing. But in our group chat, we were saying, hey, listen, this defense looks like it is holding. The scoreboard may not show that. It's a very different dynamic from what was actually happening. But, I do give you guys a lot of credit to that. I was all fired up when a couple times when the guys got after the quarterback. So
we had to get to that spot. But, what was most impressive is the run game defense. They were smashing them. Our guys were in there. They were playing square. They were playing low. They were playing against some bigger bodies. And they were smashing the run game. So that's one of the things you worry about going into those games, that you'll get, outmatched and they can just control everything on the ground. They couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And they had to throw it a little bit.
Well, that's always a good thing. Now, as you guys move forward as a staff and you guys kind of break down tape and you kind of move forward to now this week, how helpful is this to have a Big Ten opponent on film for your guys to look at and to break down in the film room?
Not a whole bunch. That's a bad loss. You go 48-0 anytime. Those things sting. They sting your pride. They shake your confidence. I think the walk away, though, is that, you've got a defense that's physical. We have to do things a little bit better to keep a tighter lid on it in the pass game. I think you look at an offense that we need to operate. We changed our flavor a little bit because it was necessary in terms of how you would manage that type of game to win it. So we didn't play as wide open, and we didn't really let the thing unfold. There was a number of plays that, had we carried them out properly, would have been big explosion plays. But we got some youth. We got some untested people out there. We've got, a young quarterback that comes in and still, figuring it all out. I think that at some point in time, hopefully this weekend, the lights come on and then it all comes together. And that's really what we're going for.
Yeah, you mentioned just kind of going towards this weekend. Now, you as a head coach, you put behind you Minnesota, and you look forward, obviously, to now this Saturday, 6:00. What's that look like for you and the rest of this team to just kind of put that completely behind you and focus on something completely different?
Well, I think that's the message, it's the message you give to them. It's the message that learn from your defeats. If you can pick out anything good about it, celebrate those things you did well. But we all recognize that the basic fundamental things we did in a game of football can't let you win against anybody. How we recover from that is led by us, message-wise. Hey, you got to move on. You can't let last week's game beat you this week. But I think that as I talked to the team this morning, that a lot of that's individual. You got to be ready for the next battle. All right, we got 2 preseason games under our belt, 2 non-conference opponents. We talk about wanting to win a championship, put a ring on your finger. There's a conference championship game, as they all will be, and understand that team that's coming in here is going for the same goal. And they're a heck of a lot saltier than I was hoping they were going to be. I've never played against Campbell, don't even know what town in North Carolina it's from. But same time watch them on tape. They're a good opponent, and it's going to take everything we got to make sure there is nothing other than focus on them to be able to get this one in the win column.
Yeah, awesome. Now, obviously, you just kind of touched on it, but conference play now starting this Saturday against Campbell. This is an opponent that you haven't seen before. Now, they're also coming off a ranked win last week. For you guys, does that change the way that you view them going into this Saturday, or do you guys kind of keep that same mindset of, hey, every opponent is an opponent that we need to come in here, and it doesn't matter if they're ranked or at the bottom of any kind of level, we're just coming in here to get the job done?
I mean, I think there's a component of that, but certainly, they beat a ranked opponent. They're being mentioned in votes or in the top 25 as we are. So, I mean, I think it's a great thing for us. Campbell beats Western Carolina, a team that was in the top 25. You got, now they have some respectability. That gives us an opportunity to beat them at home. It gives us a quality win going forward.
Now, in Minnesota last week, there was a lot of big bodies on that roster, and that was mainly on the line. Now, this week, when you look at a guy, 6'5" receiver, Sincere Brown, averaging 26 yards per reception and already has 234 yards through 8 quarters this season. I mean, how does your defensive room and how do you as a head coach kind of look at a player like that and say, okay, how do we go about not letting that happen?
I was feeling good till you started mentioning Sincere Brown. Yeah, 6'5" is a receiver that can leap and catch and do some things. I mean, but he's not the only one. The quarterback's dynamic. He can move around. He delivers the ball up, and all he's got to do is get it close to that kid, and he's going to jump up and snag it. So how do you prepare? You put your structures in place defensively. You have a plan that if, in fact, that one player is hurting you, you got to be able to try to take it away, either by rolling coverage to it, putting a double scheme on it. But they've got other players there, too, that they can take advantage of once you give attention to that guy. So we'll know where he is at all times, and we're just going to have to play a complete game and make sure we can try to keep a lid on his explosiveness. We can keep him the ball inside and in front in the pass game, and we can, stop the run. I sound like, a broken record. It's always the same thing. Stop the run, keep explosives off the board, make sure we can take a couple of balls away, which is the piece that's got to change. Yeah. We're -7 in the turnover margin in the first 2 ball games. It's a disgusting statistic. So we stop turning it over and we start taking it off of people right now. We'll start to see what kind of team we are.
Very good. Very good. Now, so week 1, you guys were battle tested early. I know in our episode of Rhody Football Game Day, you said, listen, obviously you want your players to be in a position to win a football game. Obviously from the jump would be beautiful. Yeah. But at any point throughout that game, now you guys kind of found yourself in a position late to make something happen. Your guys battled their way back and fought through some adversity, found a way to win that game. Now you come into week 1 of conference play. Do you think that gives you a little bit of an advantage coming into that, kind of putting Minnesota behind you and focusing on just the moving forward of saying, hey, listen, we've already seen some tough times. Now we move through. We know we can be successful.
Yeah, I think that's all about, recognizing who we are for the first 2 games. I told the kids this morning, I said, look, we went in to Holy Cross. We played a phenomenal football game on defense, and then we sat there and gave one up late. I said, then you sit there and you watch how the offense was able to step up and go ahead and make the play to back the defense. That's the way football is supposed to work. So we have a game that we played where we didn't play well and we got beaten on the road by a Big Ten opponent. You really can't use that in your evaluation of what you are. Yeah. But, you're battle tested now, but it's going to be a question of us being better on the field in the areas we failed. And where we failed so far is ball security and the inability to take the ball off of people and takeaways. So, I think that there's recognition of what we are. Yes, we can play tough physical defense. Yes, we can move the ball effectively. We just have to go ahead and continue to put that together on a week-to-week and get better in all areas. Fantastic.
Now, when all of those components come together to however far they may, as before we get to this Saturday, when this Saturday rolls around, how excited are you to open the conference play at home. Obviously you get your season opener at home. Now you have your conference opener. Last year you guys beat Stony Brook in the same scenario right here at Meade Stadium. You get another under the lights game, 6 o'clock this Saturday. But how excited are you to be back in front of the fans and just open conference play this Saturday?
I'm thrilled. I can't wait to get out there. I'm looking forward to getting this taste out of our mouths, which even though you put it behind you, the taste still stays there until you're able to get back on the field and erase it. So I'm thrilled. I'm really, out to the fans. Let's get out. Let's go ahead and pack the place. I know that we have, we've had sold out, and I guess their tickets still available. Let's get the students down there. Let's continue to make Meade a very difficult place to play. And that's what, I'm hoping is being our 12th man. You've got a team that's probably, as a whole, never been to Rhode Island alone, come here and play us. You come into a packed Meade Stadium with our students, with our fans, with our people in the community want to go and support us. That's going to help us get where we need to go, and hopefully it makes it a very difficult experience for Campbell.
Well, Rhody Nation and Rhody Ruckus, you heard the man, you heard the captain of the ship. Be here on Saturday night. You don't want to miss it. The conference opener under the lights. And, well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. As always, wonderful to sit down with you, my friend.
Man. All right, Noah.
Awesome. And, guys, that is this conclusion of Week 3 of Behind the Anchor. We will see you all next week. And, well, go Rhody.